Hello everybody, welcome to today's hello everybody, welcome to today's episode of Chili Phillies Not Tutorials, and today I'm going to answer some questions. So I've been banking up a whole bunch of questions when I've asked everybody on Instagram. Can you tell I haven't spoken in 24 hours? And one of the things I said in my last video was that I'll do a video on the basics and I'll do a questions video. And this week, I think I just sort of like following the theme of last week, so not inspired to really try and finish anything. So a questions video is just as easy. So I'm just going to answer a few questions that people ask me on Instagram, and yeah, let's get to it. Somebody asked, what crochet creation are you most proud of? I think the thing that I always say in interviews and whenever people do ask me sort of what's my favourite crochet thing is, I'll always say the burger hat, because I've used it as my profile photo on my social media for years. It was the first like food hat I made, but it was also what sort of stimulated the whole food theme of what I do. And so if I never did it, if I never made it, and if I never uploaded it second, I think, I would never have created what I created. So yeah, I'll probably say that. Somebody says, how many hours a day do you dedicate to crocheting? I treat it like a full-time job, and it is my full-time job currently. But usually when I have an idea, I usually do try and commit like solid hours, like not just like a few hours here and there. So I will sit there for like, 6 to 8 hours, have coffee, have something to eat, and just make, which is why I think I've been able to produce so much stuff, is that, I actually committing the time. But yeah, 6 to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week probably. Some weeks, like this week, maybe not so much. Somebody says, why does some yarn feel better than others? Well, that's because they're all different materials. Acrylic will always just feel soft and all that sort of stuff, but the way I think about it is like essentially you're just crocheting a sheet of fabric, or you just a sheet of plastic, or you're just crocheting with plastic when you're doing acrylic. But then obviously like wool and cotton and all that sort of stuff also have their own different qualities, so they could be itchier, but they could be warmer or react better when you're in different situations. So it's just because it's different fibers, really. I don't know the science behind it. Maybe one day if I have enough followers, maybe I'll go to a factory and investigate. Somebody asked, where do you get your inspiration for your creations? Well, when I first started, I originally was gonna crochet all these things for me to do drag. So that's why everything I do is wearable, because I was inspired to do drag, and this was like 8 years ago. And so the feel of drag is so different now. But because I went viral so quickly, I never took that sort of route with what I ever did. I just committed to making, and I have since tried to perform and host nights since I've developed what I've got now, and I've realised like it's just not my thing. But yeah, most of my inspiration is just like silhouettes and food and how I can adapt that into like fashion silhouettes and how to make that wearable. Yeah, definitely a lot of fashion is my inspiration as well. Silhouettes. Somebody asked, what is your fave yarn and hook size for your amazing projects? When I first started, I primarily used a 7mm hook, millimeter, 7mm. I think I tried to show this last time, which I do have tattooed on my arm. Oh god, I don't think you can see. And my fave yarn is just like your standard, whatever, 8-ply yarn. Usually it's acrylic, and I mainly just go for colour because everything I do is just for the visual and not for like any particular sort of wearability. Until recently, where I have been trying to bake things so I can wear them out and about. So I have been very conscious of that now, but wasn't so conscious of that before. Somebody asked, do you crochet with one strand of yarn or two? And I think if you watch my 2 previous videos, I think I've sort of explored that. You know, when it was a chunkier yarn, just used one, but when I want to mix and blend, it's usually 2 or 3. But yeah, no, I usually these days just use single strands of yarn with bigger needles. But that's because I'm making things that I can wear and, you know, trying to get as much coverage as possible. But when I first started making the hats, I was like tripling it. So some of my hats, especially my original hats, they're really, really heavy unnecessarily. But yeah, it really depends on the project. But clothing, it's generally just been single strands of yarn, and I just play with the needle size, the hook size. Somebody says, do you follow pattern or are they all freestyle? They're all freestyle. I couldn't read or write patterns until I had to do all my KFC patterns. So everything I made was just off the top of my head. And I think I said in one of my previous videos, like, I don't draw, I don't plan, I just make. Which is why the idea of reverse engineering things I've already made into patterns is just like, no, I don't want to do that because that just came strictly from my brain. You know, I probably would encourage everybody that if you do want to sort of make what I do, you know, you do have the skills to do it. It's simple. Like, I just did it. I think you just have to learn how to like apply yourself in that way, which is always what I've been encouraging people to sort of do. Somebody asked, what's your preferred method of magic circle? I think that might be a question for when I do my basics video. But I used to do a slip knot, like a chain however many, and go from there, but I didn't like how the whole sort of was. And then I evolved into doing the crochets into the first sort of like knot or first crochet, because then you can tighten it. But yeah, I had done the 2 different ways over the years, but I think I prefer the latter that I just said. Somebody asked, how do you avoid stress injuries? I do lots of cracking my knuckles, lots of doing this, like stretch my fingers. Yeah, I just make sure I have breaks. I've never actually run into having any actual hand issues, but I think that's because I've just been really conscious of how I do it. I don't know. I've never run into those problems, but I have always been a stretcher. A long time ago. I never used to know how to crack my knuckles until now. Okay, this will be the last one. Somebody says, how do you join colours? Do you mean change colours? Because then somebody else also asked how to get straight edges. Straight edges? And somebody says, how do you reuse yarn multiple times without it getting felted? Oh, well, I guess I could answer that one. I guess, I don't know. I'm assuming when you say felted, you mean when it gets all sort of mottled and it gets all fluffy and combined together. But I don't know. I don't think I've ever really run into that issue. Sorry, and that was the same person who asked, how do you join colours? So maybe if you're that person, maybe if you watch this video, you can clarify what you mean. And then I might be able to answer, because I don't think I've ever run into my yarn being felted after I've reused it. Though in saying that, I do like that sort of effect where it's all sort of like combined in that way. But yeah, those are those will be all the questions I'll answer for today. That was just like a nice little easy video for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Next week I'm actually going to be away over the weekend, so I might have to sort of pre-record a video and have it release over the weekend while I'm away. But it will be on the top that I'm currently working on, so let's see how that goes. But yeah, no, thank you so much. Yeah, definitely ask me questions anytime I ask on Instagram, because I will answer them eventually. Some of the questions you guys said were like, why are you cute? Like, I don't know. So, yeah, no, thank you guys so much. Like, follow, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, because I tweet a lot about Survivor. And, tune in for my video next week. Thank you guys so much. Have a nice weekend.